All right, good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, December 3rd at 6 p.m. Calling to order the City of Franklin Technology Commission meeting. If we could have the roll call.
Chair Greg Strug.
Present.
Alderman Pecorelli.
Here.
Michael Wieblewski.
Wylewski.
Laura Galush is excused. James Rayberger.
Present.
Louise Serrano is excused. Andrew Pelkey.
Present.
Max Williams is excused. Sam Berg. Here. And that's it.
All right, and we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What color is that flag, Greg?
I can see the box of 8.
What do you
So
see?
that I say red, white, and blue.
You do?
Yeah. Box of 8 I can see. You get beyond that, and the green on a stop and go light is not a box of 8. It's not green grass.
You mean
color.
like box of 8 crayons kind of color. It's primary. Got it.
Yep. Get beyond that, box of 16, box
Okay.
32. Raw umber, burnt sienna.
How about gold and silver?
Gold and silver. Okay, citizen comment period. There are no citizens in our audience today, so we'll move to the review and approval of the October 22nd meeting minutes.
I vote to approve.
Thank you, Andy.
Motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second from Jim. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now we are on the topic du jour, 2026 ADA Web Accessibility Compliance and Requirements for the city's website.
This kind of got thrown at the IT department, almost at the point of being the last man standing. Normally, content management is done by the Department of Administration. And because Kelly has been out sick on medical leave for an extended period of time here, there was no one else really to help move this forward. We do have an opportunity of using some money under a health department grant for it, but that expires in December. So we have to turn around and at least get someone contracted to help us at least with kicking this off. We don't have to finish it. And contract signed and such so that we can at least get them started so we can use some of this money to use it on a much needed effort for our website because we haven't done anything with ADA compliance at this point.
You use Civics Plus for our website?
Nope. Titan. We'll be going through all of that.
All right.
But interesting, yeah, Civics Plus has been banging the drum real hard. Strange enough, we do use Civics Plus for social media archiving for the sites that do have social media, like the police department. They do use Civics Plus for that portion of it. But we use Northwoods for our content management, which is Titan, is the content management system over there. And we've been on it forever since we've been with Northwoods. We did a major overhaul of our website, and they helped us with that for it. So knowing we had almost no time, she hit me this literally the week before Thanksgiving on this and says, I need this now, and I need you to take to the Technology Commission and the Common Council on this. We need to find a vendor to turn around and do this. And we don't have time to go out and prove multiple vendors for it. So it's like, well, Northwoods, since you have Titan and you have ownership of it, what can you do for us for it? And you probably are doing this already for other customers, yes. And it's like, we're looking at just the basics here of just starting ADA compliance, realizing, yeah, we got a lot more to go with it. So if this seems half-baked, I'm sorry. There really was no time to put a great deal of detail and thought with it. I spent Thanksgiving weekend doing some research because I knew nothing. I knew what the Americans for Disability Act was, but I knew nothing about compliance and regulations and what needed to be done and what didn't need to be done. So my first effort was research project. And that's a lot of what this presentation is, just to get an understanding at least of what we have to look at, not only for this project, but in the future projects. We're not going to do it all in one swing. It's just too much on that website to do it in all one swing. And we don't have enough money to turn around and do it all in one swing either. We only have $10,000 to go with this. Technically 15, but they don't know. Just in case there's little cost overruns on it. So ADA, the Americans for Disability Act, is a standard that broadly defines how websites and mobile interfaces must be designed for those with disabilities. The regulation broadly discussed the archetype goals without going into the specific technological details. But there is a consortium, which is the WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, which is published by the consortium organization W3.org, www.org, and are generally used to assess the implementation and execution of ADA compliance. The current version right now is version 2.2 of the standard. 3.0 is off on the horizon for it. Most organizations, when they're just kicking off an ADA, go with the older version 2.1 guidelines to begin with, and then they add in the additional 2.2 guidelines as they go along. Like many frameworks, just like on MITRE, there are different levels of complexity and compatibility for it. Level A contains the most basic requirements that you have to have in order to meet compliance. AA is optional, along with AAA. And normally federal agencies and educational institutes must do AA standards. And then AAA is normally optional for most websites, but it's normally customly used for sites that are specifically tailored for those with disabilities that may commonly use the sites. We see this, like you were saying, the most often in healthcare for it, because most likely in healthcare you're going to turn around and run into a person with a disability. There we go. Computer's really running slow. The Americans for Disabilities Act was created in 1990 with various approvals being finalized in 1992. So it's been out there for a while. ADA consists of a broad set of agency-produced regulations. The regulations may encompass anything from building and architectural standards to communication and document procedures. There is a primer that I put up there for ADA in case anyone is interested in more research. Due to the complexity of the regulations, local governments must make reasonable accommodations to ensure compliance. What is reasonable? Well, normally that's what the court turns around and decides, because someone sues and then you have to determine if what you're doing is reasonable or not. So the guidelines are fairly broad, but they also recognize in every instance it may be economically or procedurally or architecturally impossible to do with what you're doing, so you have to try at least to make some form of accommodation and prove that you actually have tried. ADA compliance litigation and lawsuits are significantly on the rise. I saw a statistic that said in the state of California, in 1 year, there's a 30,000% increase of ADA lawsuits that are out there. Businesses and agencies alike are under considerable pressure to meet at least WCAG v2.1 compliance. You will have a lot of fly-by-night, very unreputable law firms out there that will, all you have to do is go to YouTube to see people complaining about this, of turning around, finding a person with a disability, saying, hey, you're blind. If we issue a bunch of lawsuits on your behalf, will you be the signatory behind the lawsuit? And they'll say yes. So then they go out there, they'll run a compliance scanning engine on a bunch of websites, and the ones that they find that have the most flaws they will then issue a lawsuit against that site. Quite often, the lawsuits will be settled out of court for somewhere around $100,000 to $175,000. They go away until the next company comes along and runs a scanning engine and sues them again. This is a thing right now going out there, particularly out in California. And it's growing exponentially because it's a great way for small law firms to make a lot of money.
There's one of these in
I'm sure there is.
A law firm that's done 250 to 300 locally.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. So, is this a risk? Yes. And it is a growing risk. And that's why Lauren is very worried about this, that we are having anyone from the federal government coming in and saying, hey, are you compliant or not? No. Unlike CJIS with the Department of Justice, where I have to have the FBI hitting me up and I have to prove it. There's no one saying, here, prove it. But you're at a risk of one of these frivolous lawsuits in case you aren't compliant. There are 4 facets of what they call ADA accessibility. So they take these regulations and they try to group them together based upon overarching goals for it. First is perceivability. Is the information and the user interface components must be presented to users in ways in which they can perceive using multiple senses. Then it has to be operable. The user interface components must follow functionality and navigation to allow use multiple methods, be it a keyboard, touchscreen, voice, or even some form of a third-party device like a screen reader on it, or even something that will do text to voice for them in case they're blind. Does your website, is it accommodating for multiple ways of navigation and interfacing with it using different types of hardware? Is it understandable? Is the information and operations must be readable, predictable, and provide clear instructions and error messages. So you have to be careful if you get an error message. How do you acknowledge it on it? Is the error message screen readable for it? And above all, is it covering something well on the screen that they need to turn around and navigate or navigate away from? So modal dialog boxes can be a big issue. And is it robust? And is the content robust enough that it can be interpreted reliably by a wide variety of user agents and assistive technology? That may come up in, is your website running 2 men in a truck and it's just basic HTML that'll never turn around and do it? Or is it actually turning around and allow itself to be dynamically formatted? Within the guidelines, there's also technology groups. So we have the archetypes which we're trying to follow, and then it's, all right, what type of device or interface are we actually looking at? So we look first at the technological framework or the programmatic contents, the actual HTML, XML, ASP, whatever be under the code behind it. This is the content management system and the site code that creates the visual components and the navigation for the site. This includes dynamic content management and layout elements for providing the site on multiple devices or browsers. Then the words. The site should be written using common vocabulary and be jargon-free. Words should be simple, helpful, and provide self-guiding choices. Images on the screen must contain alt text tags that can describe the image for those that have screen readers. And then uploads. Anything that you have on your site as far as a document. Site content is extended within documents that may be downloaded. All documents and multimedia files must also meet WCAG compliance. That's the big one.
That's it, yeah.
And due to the volume of files and teams inheriting information, this is often the most complex and time-consuming of the 3 groups. Let's face it, how many times do you have a website and it's not something you created from scratch, it's something you inherited from somebody. So now you got all this legacy stuff that you're dragging with it, and that frequently is where you're going to spend a lot of time. All right, a very, very light speed overview of what are the guidelines for version 2.1a, not AA or AAA on it, and very briefly, what does it actually have to do? And I'll just go running them down. I won't use the numbers for it. I'll just use the captions. Non-text content. You have to provide text alternatives for non-text or image content. Pre-recorded audio and visual. Provide an alternative to video audio only content. Do not automatically play the content. Captions. Video and audio must provide closed captions or transcripts. Big problem. Audio descriptions. Secondary alternative to audio only content, like a transcript. Logical structures. Content can be presented in different ways without losing information or structure. Structures can be represented through text. It's very important if you're communicating text that is hierarchical. You can't have a screen reader change the layout and then suddenly you lose the hierarchy. Meaningful sequence. Content is presented in a meaningful order. Again, that does not get scrambled up if you're using a special reader. Sensory characteristics. Content does not use shape, color, size, sound, or visual occasion to convey understanding or operations. Use of color. Content should be available for users to hear or see without having the foreground and background hard to distinguish. And audio control. Audio that plays for more than 3 seconds can be stopped. So that's the perceivable category that you have to eventually comply with. Under the operable, keyboard. All functionality of the content is operable through keyboard interfaces without requiring timing or specific key combinations. Keyboard traps. If a web component can be navigated to obtain the focus of using a keyboard, then the keyboard can be used to move away from the focus. Keyboard shortcuts. When implemented, keyboard shortcuts can be turned off. I don't think we're doing any of that. Time limits. For each time limit that is set by content, users can adjust the time limit. For example, a log out to a secure website. Pause, stop, and hide. For blinking, moving, scrolling, or auto-updating content, a secondary method is used to access or flag off the content. You see this a lot where if you have an image control and just flips through multiple images for it, that can be a problem. 3 flashes. In order to prevent seizures, content should not blink more than 3 times.
Can you go back for a second?
Mm-hmm.
The
And
time
I'm
limit?
not an expert on this.
No, I was just asking the time limit one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, press here, you have 10 seconds to
So
press
for
here.
us to stay logged in.
And someone with a
Okay.
disability might not be able to do it within 10
But so having a reasonable timeout.
or a way to override that.
So you can say, all right, instead of 10 seconds, I can click a button or say a command and I can get another 15.
Right.
Yeah.
Add it on.
I'm just going from the standpoint of if you start making that too open, then you start running into the other
Security
Right,
problems.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't think we have any of that on the website. The only thing that we would have would be anything that would kind of like auto scroll or auto flip, and I don't think we have too much of that in the site.
Okay.
Bypass blocks. A mechanism exists to bypass repeating blocks of content repeated on multiple pages. Footers are typically something that you will get the same thing again and again and again and again, so you have to pay attention to footers. Page title. Web pages have titles that describe the topic or purpose. Focus order. If content can be navigated sequentially, the focus is granted in the order that preserves the meaning of the sequence. Link purpose. For each hyperlink, alt text is available that fully describes the purpose of the link and is unambiguous to the user. Pointer gestures. All functionality that uses multi-point or path gestures can be operated by a single point gesture. That's more for mobile applications. So if you have to do some tap it twice, or you have to tap here and tap here, then you do it. For our website, that's not nearly as important unless you're reading it on a mobile device. Pointer cancellation, again with mobile devices. Use of a single pointer gesture allows for full cancellation. No drop-down lists, abort or undo buttons, or up and reversals. So if you're asking a person to point on something, it has to not suddenly dramatically appear on them. So drop-down list box, although it's great for saving space, you got to use a full list instead of a drop-down list instead. Label in name. All labels must contain alt text treated like an image. And motion actuation. Functionality that can be operated by device motion or user motion can be operated by an alternative user interface or disabled. I don't think we have anything for that. Understandability. Language of the page. The default human language of each page can be programmatically determined. By default, on the content management, it always gives that in the XML header that it's English. On focus. When any user interface component receives the focus, it does not initiate a change of context. In other words, when you give the focus of something, it doesn't change what the device or interface actually reads. So if you click or give it the focus on something, suddenly the button doesn't change its text, what it has on there. It has to remain the same. On input, changing the setting of the user interface component does not change the content. unless the user has been forewarned. Error identification. If an input error is detected, the item in error is described to the user in text. Labels or instructions. Labels or instructions are provided to a user when input is required. That might be a problem. And then we go to robust parsing, which we really don't have. Content implemented using a markup language, XML, must have complete start and end tags. Elements are nested to a specification, and elements are not duplicated or contain non-unique IDs. That normally is up to the content management system. And name, role, or value. To all user interface components, particularly form elements, the name and role, along with the states and property values, can be easily determined by using adaptive technologies. You have a form on it, and you're giving names and code behind it that also has to be easily determined by a screen reader. Well, all of those are up on www.w3.org, .tr.wcag21. We're not going into the 2.2 standards. We'll do that some other day. This is just 2.1. So we have a short-term opportunity. As I said, the Franklin Health Department has a grant that expires in December 2025 or $10,000 compliance. Then Lauren wanted me to say this. The Franklin Health Department has been awarded funds that can be used to address prevention, public communication efforts, and administrative needs to impose the design and execution of public health programs. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the reliance on technology infrastructure increased in our community, including more information being shared on the city website. The Franklin Health Department and Information Services aim to utilize these funds to improve ADA components of the website for user interface and accessibilities. This project has been in the works basically since early 2025, and the funds expire in December. It is recognized that even with WCAG 2.1 compliance, there will need to be multiple projects executed in a phased approach to address many of the existing ADA concerns. It goes back to our original project with our website. There are over 10,000 documents stored on the Franklin website. The documents that were uploaded prior to 2022 may not be OCR and outside of compliance. Now, if you remember, Mark Liberta made a decision when we did round one of this, of the changes for it, that we were only going to keep 10,000 of the documents. He was going to put a cutoff onto it. And it's probably grown since we started this back in 2019 when we were talking with Mark Liberta on this. But that's what it was at the time. And not all of those documents that we had up there that they've been putting for many, many, many years, well, even before I got here, they were putting stuff on the website. They didn't even know what OCR was when I came in, let alone the photocopiers were not doing it. So when the clerk's office was scanning a document on the copier, they were scanning it in just as a series of dots. So you open up the PDF and you hit Control F to find something, put in it wouldn't find anything. It's just dots on that page. It's not OCR'd, therefore it doesn't know the text behind it. You can't do a text reader on something that's a series of dots. So if you wanted to use a text reader, and here we go to PDF compliance and document compliance on this. First thing you're going to have to do is to OCR all of that stuff. And I know how long it took when we had the security hack and our insurance company turn around and had to determine, all right, who may have had their PII or financial information compromised, and we all sent them a letter about the Security Act. They had to go through 2.5 terabytes of data on CH File 01, and then once they had it OCR'd, then they had to run it through a whole bunch of processes to determine what was contained in there and didn't have any PII. It took them 6 months working on this with specialized computers that were designed to do this. It's going to take us a while to turn around and OCR 10,000 documents on that site, unless we start parsing it down and saying, okay, we're just not going to keep that much out there on the website anymore.
But I think the world is also advanced in terms of AI.
Yes.
And there are a lot better AI algorithms out there that can take pixels and translate them into OCR. And so what we did in the past, and I recognize how painful that was, maybe supplanted by something where you point
And I'm
a
hoping
tool
you're
at a directory and
absolutely
say,
right on that.
"Be done with it."
Because this also ties a little bit into what we may be doing with document management, that if we want to get off of file servers entirely and put all of what's on our file piles, on unstructured files for each department, 2.5 terabytes, some of it OCR, some of it not, and let's say we want to put it to SharePoint,
Yeah.
because we're already paying for it. You're going to upload all that. It will be OCR'd turning around and going into it. So I do realize, yeah, as you're turning around and redoing some of this, and maybe the answer is not stick with Northwoods, go with a different content management system, and when you're inputting all these file piles, it automatically OCRs it upon upload. That might be
Well, it
an
may
option.
go upon upload or it may go upon retrieval, and that it runs through the algorithm and presents it. I don't know. I'm not. I mean, that's an expert.
So right now, that's what the status of the situation is.
Yeah.
So when we look at those three main categories, technology, I forgot the other one, and documents, yeah, the 10,000 file pile sitting on the web server, that's going to be a problem. And I can easily see that as another phase of this ADA compliance project.
Who is the user of the 10,000?
Any citizen or
He wants it.
employee that goes out to our website, searches something, and brings up the document.
The public.
But,
The
okay, the public, of these 10,000 documents, how many of them are actually accessed?
Well, you'll probably find it's a small number.
Small
Yeah.
numbers.
It'll be the
right?
most recent stuff.
Most recent
Quite often,
stuff.
but not
right?
always.
Yeah.
So, but the point is that if we were to, like, moving off of microfiche to some newer technology, right? You leave the microfiche on the microfiche because it's old and the cost and benefit is not there to
Yeah.
get it. So what would be the worst case? Worst case, you'd get an open records request for something on microfiche that you'd have to go down the basement to get. So it seems.
And
to
there
me-
you hit it.
It seems to me that this is an opportunity to just start clean, and everything we put on the new website is ADA
Mhm.
compliant, and the other stuff just
But we managed it by exception.
maybe there's
Because
a,
right now,
yeah,
the
maybe there's a
10,000
need.
we're spending, I mean, I'm looking a little bit strategically into the future. If we stay with Northwoods, like right now, it's like, let's try to get programmatically what you can do. Put your alt text in there, put the hyperlink alt text in there. There's certain things that they can immediately do behind the scenes. They have automated processes. It's their content management system. They wrote the doggone thing. They can basically run it through their engine and fix a lot of these ADA compliance issues using automation. So it's like chunk, 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 chunk. All right, now we'll get a good chunk of the easy kill stuff done. Realizing this OCR is going to be a bigger beast off of it, but the downside is if you don't have 10,000 documents, if it's out there on the website, they can get it, then they don't need to turn around and call anybody or issue an open records request to go get it. It can be self-serve for it.
Yeah.
The more that we would link our external documents to an internal document management system, so it's accessible both internally and externally, that also starts getting us out of this as well. Because right now we're storing it in two places. We're storing it internally and we're storing it on the website. Well, it's like the 1990s all over again. But that's what we're doing today on it. And there's lots of areas for optimization for it. But the nice, we get flooded with open records, flooded, and it's going to get worse. Chief of Police already told me they already are accounting for people turning, now that we have body cameras, getting a lot more open records requests just on body camera footage.
That's
Or
current
it's coming.
It's current data, though. Current information. It's the stuff that happened.
Not necessarily. I've had open records requests going back to you wouldn't believe.
For sure.
No,
but
he's saying
that's
the body
that's
cameras
excep-
are-
The
yeah,
body cameras
new,
has to be current.
right? So the exception more than the rule. And the law says what we put on the website has to be ADA compliant. The law doesn't say what we don't put on the website has to be. So just put less on the website. I mean, put the stuff on the website that we can actually make ADA compliant.
Well, the implication is, even if it's not on the website, if you have an internal user, a city employee
Sure.
that needs to get at it,
Yeah.
and they have a disability, it's
Yeah.
got to be ADA compliant.
Well, they're not, to his point, what he just said is they're not necessarily using the website. We've got internal stuff and we got external stuff. And, we got two sets of stuff.
Now, caveat that I haven't even addressed yet, I haven't researched it, it's on my to-do list, is I know PDFs also have rules on compliance. There's a guidelines that if you're going to create a PDF, just like on a website, you have alt image text. If you have an image in your PDF, you're going to have to create alt text if you're using a screen reader on the PDF, and you're going to have to include that into the PDF. I don't know what those guidelines are. I know they exist. I don't know what the guidelines are, and I don't know how you go about remediating.
And nobody has
There
training
must
on
be
how
a
to
tool
do it.
there somewhere to do this with. But then all the PDFs that we have are also going to have. So not only do they have to be OCR'd, they're also going to have to be made ADA compliant as well.
Train people on how to do that.
Got it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are at the tip of the spear here with this topic because, you know, as Jim referenced, internal users, you know, there are internal users who work in the planning department. There are internal users who work with the GIS. And how do you use that when you have a disability? Can you use it with a disability? So, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. And I think, so we're not talking about that tonight. We're talking about the website. But as it relates to things on the website, there are tentacles beyond just our own content. So paying a bill, I think that links out to a payment provider.
Mm-hmm.
So are they ADA compliant? Can I functionally pay my bills or pay my ticket or pay my permit with that third party? GIS is on the website. How do we handle that? So there's some things there, some tentacles into applications that are either ours or others that we also will need to consider because it comes from the
Which is something we're going to have to, when we evaluate third-party cloud applications.
yeah,
Something
yeah,
we're going to have
Yep,
to hit
absolutely.
on the horizon list. We're going to have to start evaluating.
Right.
this.
Yeah, I mean every application
So
that
why-
we have here should be ADA compliant because you have, as a government organization, their proclivity is to, you know, hire maybe more people with disability with good reason, and you know, and somebody do their job as a clerk, or something in the treasurer's office without an ADA compliant application. Go ahead.
Maybe this is a little ahead of us getting there, but why doesn't Northwoods already? I mean, like Civics Plus, for example. You know, Civics Plus is. I don't know much about Civics Plus, but I know they're widely used in municipal government, websites. So, why isn't Northwoods? Why aren't they already on top of it? Should have been like
Because they provide you hosting. Well, I'll stipulate it first. It's $350 a month. Hosting and running the content. That's a cutthroat price.
yeah, Civics Plus is a lot more than that.
Yeah, if you go to somebody else, you are going to be paying a lot more for it. So when you're paying a bargain basement price, you're going to get pretty bare bones functionality for it. So their cost is hosting, using Titan CMS. And it's like you're responsible for the content. So as the customer, ADA compliance is really on your shoulders because you're the one that's actually turning around and creating said content. Now, they may have tools that will help us to ensure ADA compliance on it for it, and that's partially what we're doing for it. But ultimately, for the tier of services that we're subscribed to, we are getting only the basic elements of tools.
So Greenfield, City of Greenfield uses Civics Plus.
Yes.
What do they have for AV clients? You know,
Like I said, I just got into this. This
Okay.
normally was not even in IT's purview. That the content on the City of Franklin's website is the responsibility of the Director of Communications, which is the Department of Administration. Now, we're also going to probably find other projects in the future on social media. We're going down that rabbit hole as things change on it. So typically, it comes to the Technology Commission but the implementation and what we put on the website, that is not within the IT department. That's why Lisa Hunig reports to Kelly, and she reports to the Department of Administration.
For these
So that's why I don't want to use the get out of jail free card on it. Somebody should be running with this other than IT. A health department is to some degree because they're providing the funding for it. Ultimately, ADA compliance does hit the health department for it because the ADA guidelines are devised by the Department of Health and Human Services, federal agency for it. But we've never really made it a priority within the city.
For these documents, is there a policy or law about retention policy? Is everything historical, keep it forever, or is there
Yes,
like classifications
within
you can delete?
that's a state law for it. In state law, all government records have to be retained indefinitely. Email is a government record, which means we have to preserve each and every single email going back to we first started recording it back in the 1990s on our archiver. I cannot get rid of it. I have to preserve it forever. We've got maps, we've got blueprints of Nike missile silos out there that we retain literally forever. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to keep the physical paper document. There are rules that say that you can scan it, and it has to be in multiple digital formats, but you can scan that document, and as long as it's an accurate representation of the original, then you can turn around and get rid of the paper copy of the document. But it is state law that anything that's a government record has to be kept indefinitely, whether on paper or electronically. The interesting thing, it doesn't tell you where you store it. That goes internally, externally. Do you put it on the website? Do you not put it on the website, etc.?
City of Greenfield, their website, they're working on the compliance right now, and they have until April 2027 to get things up. And
Yeah, there's a 2026 guidelines that has to be met where they're putting it down, but everyone's worried about the big bad April deadline. And again, it's a government mandate that is non-enforceable.
right, but I guess what I was saying
You
is
just
that
open yourself up to a lawsuit.
they have Civics Plus, and Civics Plus did steer them into. They're not up to snuff. Is what I'm getting
Oh,
at.
right,
Mhm.
yeah.
You know, maybe they've helped them. I don't know what their
And a lot of this
assistance
is that deadline that they put out there too, saying you got to be compliant by, and that now people are worrying about it.
Yeah, they only started several months ago.
Yeah, and then also all the presence of the lawsuits, it's now bringing it to attention. This is stuff that's been out here since 1990.
Yeah, and but the evolution of web technology started at HTML, and it just kind of was simple web pages, and nobody really cared about the stuff, right? And like I said, there became an increased focus, and now it's really a focus for people getting sued. And maybe one user out there that has a concern about it, but
It could also go to the Supreme Court too. I've heard rumor on this saying government does not have authority to regulate this because this is free speech. And you can turn around and put anything that you want out there, and a person's ability to read it or not is immaterial to their ability to turn around and put it out there, and they should be able to put it out there in whatever medium. It's going to be a great Supreme Court case.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Northwoods.
YouTube. Also, closed captioning was just flagged on in October 2025. Good, Jim. Good, Jim. I had Eric Bruckner in here, and he was working on the equipment, and said, while you're at it, why don't we just turn this on, because I know it can be turned on. So any of the Common Council meetings or anything we record inside the Common Council room, as of April, now has closed captioning on it, and I also had him increase the video definition of it. It'd be now high def, where it wasn't before because we had limited bandwidth. We tweaked a little bit of the YouTube settings on it, so that's helping us with compliance. Now we just have to go through the file pile of all the MP3 audio files and all the video files, and then either do closed captioning or transcripts on the files.
Only if we publish them.
All
This is like micro.
true. That not everything that we have is published to the
Let's
website.
focus on the stuff that's current published.
What can reasonably be started and finished with funding with the time limits? We basically broke down the beginning of this, even before I did my research. We just gave it as a high priority, medium priority, or low priority on it based on what we thought might be accomplishable without any concerns to the regulations. Based upon the pre-Thanksgiving conversations, we wanted to improve content navigation, accessibility for all those using screen readers and alternative devices. That's a formatting change being done by Northwoods behind the scene programmatically on our content management system. Upgrade existing web forms to the new web form that allows new controls and allows for ADA compliance. And then remediate all common ADA content and layout issues, particularly with images and alt text. Remove drop-down controls, mini calendars, and data lists for alternative controls, and eliminate content with repetitive text, particularly links and footers. Medium priority would be enhanced formatting for smaller print legal notices and documents. Great if it's actually on the page. If it's something that's downloadable in a PDF, that might fall into the lower priority, which is then enhanced navigation, sites, and data-driven controls for those that have disabilities and deal with the file pile. Key future areas, we talked about the file piles, OCR, PDF compliance standards need to be evaluated. Audio-video archive needs to have inline closed captions or transcripts. Replace controls that scroll or flip. Embedded video must be manually started. Images need to be updated. The images on the site, I was wandering around one lunch hour with a little tiny Canon camera taking pictures of just around. They have not been updated in 6 years. So that picture of the park taken on my lunch hour has been the same picture we've used for 6 years. That's not good. Someone needs to go around the camera and take more pictures and better artwork and update some of this, but they just leaving it be at this point.
That's not within bounds of ADA.
No, that's not in ADA, but
Specifically-
I'd say, while we're turning around the outtakes, can we please get a different picture up there? I don't care what it is. You look at all the other city websites, and they're constantly changing the pictures and the layouts and such all the time on it. You look at ours, it's the same damn picture for every single month for you. It really looks stale. Navigation top-level menus were carried over from the last refresh. Thank you, Mark Liberta. The site navigation needs to be simplified. If you remember the arguments that we had the old, when it was HTML, we had the old city website basically in three sections for it. We won awards on this. He did not. Mark Liberta did not want to change that layout no matter what. And then we wanted to make dynamic layouts for people with mobile devices or small screens. And it's like he still wanted to keep that three frame layout as much as he could. Well, he couldn't do it on the main body of the context, but he definitely did it at the top menu systems. So if you look at the menus that we have at the top, and then we ran out, so then we had to put some in boxes for the most common stuff. He would not let us change what was on the menus and the order that it was in, even though we were giving lots of arguments of this needs to be refreshed. The order of these drop-down menus are confusing. This needs to be optimized. Spree, I think, practically tore herself in two, arguing back and forth about it. And we know the navigation needs to be updated with those menus. Now that Mark isn't here defending the old three-tier system. And then search functionality, another just spree one that she was constantly bringing up, needs a great deal of attention. Some of it's due to OCR, some of it due to the documents are not tagged on it. We need to do this to a standard taxonomy. So when we get a taxonomy for the document management system, we then turn around and carry that on over as well. And that's it.
So as part of the does Northwoods provide, or through this, a mechanism for validation that we've caught all the things that we were originally thinking? So like a good example would be like all the alt text on all the images. Like you can, I'm assuming they have scanners that'll go and
They have a scan engine that can then turn around, look for ADA compliance. There's
Okay.
also ones that you can have out there on the web as well that you can
Okay.
search your site for ADA compliance. Depending on the depth of the site, it may take longer to
Yeah.
turn around and do it. So you can run the scan engine, and it will tell you. You can a lot of the better ones you can exclude stuff like all the documents downloads.
Yeah.
So just exclude that. Let's just look at the page.
Yeah.
Page itself and deal with the big stuff 1st and then tell us just how good we are compliance.
And that's huge. You know, you can't manage what you can't measure, right?
Yep.
If I got a button I can push that'll scan it that says, here's where my weaknesses are, that's the same button that the lawyers are pushing to see where the weaknesses are, right?
Pretty much.
So who's in charge of, somebody's got to be in charge of running that function every once in a while to make sure that we're nothing's slipping in.
Welcome to the Department of Administration.
Department of Administration, got it. Okay, so, and if they do that, they will self-educate themselves on what it is, because when it comes up with a thing that they haven't seen before, they'll be like, oh, I better go figure out what that means, right? So, like, we definitely got to have somebody in the Department of Administration that's responsible for monitoring. It means pushing the button and understanding what it's telling you,
Yeah, I think that's a very good point,
not IT.
Andy, that as part of even this little project that, you know, you need to have a stakeholder within
Yeah.
Department of Administration, whether it's Lisa or whomever, deals with this type of content, because there's going to be a little bit of a education session for anybody who touches the website. Say, here, from now on, we're going to have to come up with an alt tag for our image. Here's what alt tags are. We're going to have alt tags for our text links. We're going to have, you know, all these little things and how you enter them into the site management, the content management system. So you want to get that sort of from the get-go.
Yeah, so you don't create a problem again.
Do we know how much Civics Plus costs compared to North?
I know Kelly was looking at it, and was looking at it for various other reasons as well. I stress that when we look at this, we have to do this as a sanctioned and approved project that has been reviewed by the Technology Commission, which normally means we not only have one choice, but we need to have at least 3 alternatives. Turn around and look at it, and this needs to be made an official project where we can turn around and evaluate multiple vendors for this, and we had a great conversation on it, but where it stands on the priority list of formally making it a project, I have no idea.
Well, the only reason why I asked, I'm not pitching for Civics Plus because I don't know if they're whatever. I don't know that. But the only reason I asked is I wonder how much value we would get out of paying more on a monthly basis than getting help with the ADA thing and other things that we have to do ourselves. Because I don't want, it's like kind of like, we don't want this dumped on IT. So if the person in charge of website content, if there isn't a person in charge of website content, right, and there's nobody to champion the effort and nobody to stay up to date on it, and all those people have day jobs, well, maybe we're sort of outsourcing the important details of maintaining a website to a company that does this every day. You know, I'm saying there might be some value. You consider that the salary and benefits you're paying for somebody in-house to take this task on versus outsourcing value there. That's all I was feeling.
We also have an issue where Lisa's position as webmaster and content editor, discussed this quite a bit over the years. She's one person. When she's not here, that process stops. Yeah, she has no backup at that point. So that is also a major issue of concern of what are we going to do about all these positions that has just one person doing it. That person isn't there. She's literally been interrupted on her vacation and had to post something immediately now to the website while she was actually. It's not been uncommon.
I know that Civics Plus in Greenfield, I know they go through part of their contract is they go through a redesign every X years, whatever that X is, right? So they're currently working on refresh because, well, time's up. It's been 4 years since you last did it, so now there's a project to do it again. So there's some, institutionalized effort to keep things current and get rid of your 6-year-old pictures and train people on the content that they need to create.
And as we go down the rabbit hole of social media, Should we have a social media website? Should we not have a social media site? How does the content management site integrate with social media so it uploads your content, put on your website automatically to social media? I see that becoming also well.
And the other one that's come up in the finance session is we don't use it, but like I'll use Franklin Public Schools as an example. So I'm trying to remember, it's Board Docs or one of those. It's a website, and then you put all the different commissions and stuff like that. And you put all the documents, so the things that we do today, where they put the packets and all that kind of stuff. You can do that electronically, and then they link them into the website, so you have a public view of it. So here's all the searchable stuff, and then there's a private view, which would be any of the confidential or other kinds of stuff. That's all in one place, though, and it's all stored. So that kind of ties into all this as well, because those should then have all the ability to search them, and that all gets tied in, and that's kind of a document management system unto itself. The question is, do all those other platforms, do they offer that kind of functionality as part of it? Is that part of?
Yeah, there might be some value in switching vendors.
Yeah. Or at least investigating.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that one came up on the finance side, because it came up because when you review the printing budget, it's not cheap.
No.
And I'll also say carrying around big thick binders all the time gets a little.
A Civics Plus website varies in cost, but estimated upfront can be 15 to 40K plus, with annual fees typically ranging from 10 to 25K.
So it's a lot more. And maybe there's another one that's better than Civics Plus.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
yeah.
But what do you get? What do you get for your money?
Okay. Well,
Tim, what do you need from us today?
Yeah.
Motion to recommend.
We have to do this.
You can make it very
Yeah, I
simple,
mean-
or you can get it.
got some money. It seems like a short duration.
Well, we have money for less than 30 days, so if we don't use it, we lose it, right?
Exactly.
So
And then instead of using it under grant, we would then have to use it under operational.
Let's get us started. So.
The deliverables that you sent out in the packet, there was an email message that had a nice list of things that were
Yeah, that's
Like
where I got the
4 or 5
high
things, but I
priority,
don't.
low
The
priority.
contract doesn't seem to. It's just like we're gonna spend, 50 hours doing stuff, and it's not like.
I would agree. It's not.
Like, is there gonna
it's
be,
not
like-
the tightest sow I've ever seen in the whole wide world.
Can they run what reports are gonna come? Do they run this ADA compliance tool before and after?
very good point.
Just
That's,
to see,
that's
is
what I
it
had written
20%,
down
60%?
here. That yes, that you can't analyze till you measure it. So we should turn around and do a pre-scan and a post-scan to see then just how well we turn around and remediate it. That is
See what
not
we got
in
for
the
10 years.
contract. You can make that in the motion to recommend. If you want?
Yeah, the services do say that Northrup's will conduct a more thorough scan of the website and develop a remediation plan for clients' review and approval. The objectives of the remediation plan will address this preliminary task list, client's initial priority, and then just this.
So the thorough scan is against our target standards, or
It doesn't.
It's against our
specify.
current website.
So if we want to be ADA 2.1 compliant.
Yeah, we did
should
not
prove-
specify because I didn't know about it when we were having this conversation. I found out about it after they wrote the SAO, etc., and then I did my research and say, oh, we have 2.1a. Okay. So it's not, nowhere in there says we need to be compliant within 2.1a.
Well, you
yeah,
should-
I'm guessing what is the scan? Just somebody looking with their eyeballs, or is it a
It's an
tool
automated tool.
it's got the whatever it is WPA thing, and it just checks the box? It's like green or red.
Yeah, it should list page by page what's wrong page by page or overall.
Yeah, as long as getting.
Well, if we pretend we're in front of a judge because we just got sued by that receiving firm for not having a website. We need to be able to say we started a project, it's funded, it has a measurable goal. What's the measurable goal? It's 2.1A compliant, whatever the.
And I know we're not,
stick with,
one round,
right?
we're not gonna hit all.
For sure.
No,
2.1
right,
compliance.
But we want to have a measurable goal. We want to say we're working towards this goal. We've taken a baseline measure. We know that we've got this much work to do. We started the project in December. We put in $10,000 towards that goal, and we spent it. And now we're this close to the goal,
We
right?
started and we were 5%.
But I think we should be
70.
able to say that our goal is X, and we've measured it.
So
Right? And then spend the money
Here's the plan.
try to
So-
get as close as we can.
what if we had changed the SAO to say, yes, you'll run a scan at the beginning, give us the list of the scan. Then it says they're going to do all these, check the heading levels, ensure all images have scripted alt text, remove mini calendar, filter blocks, blah, 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 blah. All these different things that Jim had told us about. And then at the end,
Run
we also
again.
run it again.
Yes.
Just so that we
Right.
have before and after and what was done. Now,
Right.
now they have kind of a big old clause in this whole contract that this is like, well, we're going to do as much as we have time and money for, right? So even though they've listed all these things, I don't know that we'll get through them all
Right.
in the time and money.
We don't even know. We don't even know if the low-hanging fruit things that they can obviously do in an automated fashion. We don't even know how much of the 2.1 compliance goal
Sure.
is that. That could be 10% of the whole
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
90% to go.
Right.
But we still have to do all those things,
Mhm.
and we don't have time to go out and investigate an alternative vendor who might, although they cost more, might provide better value. We don't have that. It's not a luxury we have.
Yeah, and that would be a
'Cause if we
much
don't-
bigger
I
conversion.
mean, I would love to turn around and say, all right, let's put a measurable statistic saying you have to remediate between 30 and 50% of pre-scan ADA compliance issues. Well, without knowing what pre-scan
No, I
document
think
is,
this
it's
is
like
exploratory.
trying to build a
We wanna see
7-story
where we're
house
at.
when you have no blueprint.
Yeah.
What
So that would-
happened.
Yeah.
Michael's got it right. This is exploratory.
Yeah, so
Let's get a measure, do some stuff.
in another life, I would normally see these structured as you do the scan on the front end. That would be what part of the contract was. Second part, you would then do a change order on immediately on once that scan was done, because the scan's going to give you
Yeah.
this is all that has to be done,
Mhm.
and then you can go and say, okay, I can
Let's do
get
these.
X amount of things done for the
right.
dollars. Then you both agree, and then that's what gets done.
Right.
If you do it that way, then you know going in what to the point we're starting at 2% or 0% or whatever it is, right? And if we do this, this, and this, we should be about 60 or 70 or whatever it ends up being. But you'll know going in,
Yes.
we expect that to be done, because otherwise, what you're doing is you're signing up for 10,000 and you don't know
Correct.
where you're
Yeah.
going to end because you don't know where your starting point is right now.
We have time to have them run the scan, then tell us, okay, looking at the scan results, we recommend doing these things, given that we know how much money you have.
Yeah.
And then we sign another contract before the end of the year that says, yep. you're
Or
gonna
change
do those
order or
things.
whatever. You can do a change order. How do you want to do it now?
We
I
have-
mean, it seems like some of this stuff is impressive.
would be a better-
It's just not, made expert. Just give us the. I guess it. Right. It is kind of.
Yeah,
We
it
don't
can
want to
be-
change
it
too
can be
much so
more
this, we lose the money,
explicit.
but we need. Just give us before and after.
Oh, there's 50 hours allocated in here.
$100 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It'll work if we can get it.
I was going to say $200 an hour updated. Oh my god.
Probably because of the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Using. It's not 200.
No, it's correct. It's the
It's licensing the tools.
yeah, correct.
But I do
Oh.
think that if I was the vendor and I was given can you run a scan to tell us what we have, and then recommend what you're going to do.
Mhm.
If the scan is not a big deal, would they even do the scan
Just
for as a user?
Mm-hmm.
I would. And if those tools are readily available,
Do we want to
Well,
modify the
whether
SOP?
they do them as a teaser or not, we're here today, and this needs to go to
yes.
common council today, or
Yes.
soon. So
Because this will
That's
go
the
to the
issue.
common council and right.
17.
Well,
I
they
will
should-
be here, Lauren will present,
Well,
I'll be flying back
Can
and
the
forth.
vendor between now and the common
Yeah,
council
that's
run
right.
the scan and just say, okay, we ran the scan and these are the things that we think we can do
Mhm.
for modest, this is low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And if we do that, then you'll be whatever percent there. And they can even tell us, well, obviously they can tell us, well, these things are going to be very expensive to fix, and these things are going to be easy to fix, and so your 10,000 will get you this far, but we probably think you're going to need another 30 grand to do the whatever.
Or, yes, that's one approach. And I like that approach because it's very logical and methodical. But I guess the other question is, this stuff that's littered here, are we sure that this is stuff that's wrong with our website? And if we look at this, it might not get us, we might not know what percentage it gets us, but it's got to be done anyhow. And it's certainly low-hanging fruit from my read. This is all kind of basics. Does Northwoods, can Northwoods tell us how much of the website are you going to get through in 50 hours of these things? Are we going to get through it all? Are we going to get through 10%? Because otherwise, we take the methodical, give us a scan, then we meet again, then we have, a vote, or we say, this smells right. And I don't know. I don't know the answer. Jim and Northwoods.
Well, I have to believe that we're not the first person Northwoods is doing this.
No, we're not.
No.
So they should have somebody there who has some experience that says,
Right.
yeah, we run the scans on other clients that are just like you, we've had forever, and we find this, and we can remediate this for this kind of money you're talking about, and that'll get you, 40% of the way there. They should have some, based on experience, something to tell us.
I was just gonna say, and I guess where I'm looking at, if we follow that same line here, that if they do that and they tell us what that is, then I'm okay with you deciding,
Yes.
Jim, deciding, yeah, that's reasonable, or no, they're gonna do we're gonna pay them $10,000, we're gonna move the needle
2%.
2%, right? And because I'm looking at it going,
Yes.
I don't think we needed to be in that
Yeah.
level of detail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
so
I
that's
realize
fine. Yeah.
if I exclude the documents, which is a huge beast
Yeah.
of itself. So if I exclude the documents, which is a huge exclusion, and just concentrate on what's actually the web pages
Exactly.
itself for,
Exactly.
Yep.
that if we fix that, all right, I know they already did a scan. That's how they created some of the stuff for the SOW on it. We'll get a pre-scan level and an identification of how many pages that are out of compliance, and then based upon what we have and our priorities, how much do we think we can turn around and actually get
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
percentage-wise?
Include in that conversation, I think they should say, if you take away we can fix some certain amount. We can also take away some corners of the website that aren't used or documents that are 10, 20 years old, right? And then you can increase, because that's a strategy, right? You can take it away, and then a percentage of the site goes up because, well, we just don't have so much pile of crud.
Yeah,
Right.
You
So,
don't have to
I
fix
think
it.
I think that should be something that is discussed in terms of, we can say, gee, we went from 0 to 60 if we take away a lot of old unused stuff that nobody looks at.
Yeah, I think just knowing how this goes, I think we'll get through just a portion of the website. We might pick some of these off or all of them off, but that's still probably not going to completely capture all of site nav, site structure, the actual HTML, JSP, whatever the ASP, whatever the hell content we have out there. And then there's the file. And you're right, have a discussion with them about, do other places cut back on the file and have it. But even just the website itself is probably going to be more than the 10K, but let's see what we can get. And I'm fine with the approach.
Yeah,
To me, it sounds
I agree. As long as we have a measurable goal.
and measured at the end.
And
How
measure
do
at
we
the
want
end.
to, how do we want to structure the resolution? Motion.
I put a motion to proceed with the ADA compliance of the website, starting with a measurement of compliance now for ADA 2.0, followed by giving Jim full discretion on how to proceed spending the $10,000.
I don't think
And-
that'll go before this
and-
council.
And as long as in the end, we end up with an updated measure of ADA 2.1 compliance.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, right. Just measure before and after, and
Use your judgment.
give some freedom to bump priorities.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Depending on the
Yeah.
scans.
I think so.
I trust you.
After the pre-scan is done, this will be reviewed with the city staff, and it will be then the city will direct Northwoods to proceed according to priorities and the findings of that scan.
Best spending the 10 grand.
Best
right?
spending the
however,
10 grand.
However, the best get the best use of the money
Get the
you
buck.
can get.
Best bang for the
I mean,
buck.
it's really in here in this first two sentences. We're just more clearly defining it.
We are.
Like,
Yep.
they're gonna do a scan and develop a plan,
Yep.
then
For the client's
the client's
review and
review and
approval.
approval.
Yeah.
Then we're not adding anything. We're just kind of
But Jim could say, you
But
know,
we are adding the scan at the end.
yeah, Jim could say though in this
Yeah.
thing, he could say, well, you know, we're only going to get 2% there. We're going to get sued no matter what. So let's go. Instead of spending the 10 grand, let's go look for other options. Of that.
Okay.
I mean, you know, or I mean, that is the thing that could happen.
Yeah.
We could find that we're just it's
Doesn't move the needle.
it's futile. It doesn't move the needle. Don't waste 10 grand. Let's go look at some other alternatives that we don't have time right
Let's
now.
spend 100 grand.
Go 5%.
But this time it's down under grand.
Does that help you, Jim?
I say, yeah, proceed with ADA compliance on the website with a scan for 2.1
You want 2.1A?
compliance. I have to
1A.
compliance
At
with a
1A.
measure of non-compliance for a measure of which is a WCA, whatever it is.
You want to make sure it's an initial scan.
yeah. It does say in current baseline.
WCAG
They use the word baseline.
requirements.
Yeah, at the bottom of page
Yeah.
7.
Make an initial assessment.
But it doesn't
The
say
measure of
baseline according to their own
non-compliance. The director of
internal.
IT has authority to direct Northwoods on the best remediations that will lower the number of non-compliances.
Up to $10,000.
And I do think it is, people have said this repeatedly, this 2.1 and all that stuff. It is important that there's a delineation in the report that we get. Maybe the report will run it all the way through 3.0, but we need to know what's the level for 2.1.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever tool they use or whatever should run so that we can clearly delineate this is how far we're going. Right? This other stuff, that's nice to know. But, or if they can just run it for 2.1, fine. Because we don't want to be bothered by a whole bunch of 3.0 stuff and then we have to.
Yeah,
Figure
or they're
out,
running a scan and there's all this AAA stuff.
Exactly. We,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
we want it at our level.
And so we could authorize spending up to $10,000 to remediate that at your discretion. So if you get this thing back and you think, this is worth it, then you can pull the plug or you can spend it.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? I was a little confused about the certificate of insurance. Is that just FYI? And
We do
then
that for
some
all
email
Yeah,
diatribe.
we do
in
that
there.
for all contracts.
Right.
That you have. There's a table in the contract that literally points to the certificate of insurance. So they
Oh.
have to have so much umbrella insurance, so much general insurance. The ones that we normally look at is the last one, the professional liability errors and omissions
Mm-hmm.
for it, and we have to have X amount for any city project. You have to have X amount of insurance that's listed on there. I have to double check that he actually
That's
has a
cyber?
certificate made.
Do they have to have cyber
Yeah,
insurance?
cyber insurance, it's on his errors in it.
Because we always had separate E&O and cyber.
Now, this is also Jesse's boilerplate template, and to tell the honest truth, this works great for street and infrastructure projects.
Okay.
It doesn't lend itself very well for IT projects.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the technical issues review. And the director's report on IT operations follows that.
Okay, 3 pages. We only have one IT technology issue. IT increasing security responsibilities. On December 3rd, today, Dana Zahn will be retiring after serving the city of Franklin in the role of HR manager for more than 20 years. It is recognized that the singular position is in a state of flux for a period of time. Search goes out to locate a replacement or alternative resource. IT will undertake all employee onboarding and account termination responsibilities with all the matriculation, onboarding processes involving employees' security and training. It is anticipated that security duties will be further extended in the near future through additional potential retirements, where both physical security and BSNA administration may be assigned to the IT department. The extension of security responsibilities will be a topic of future technology commission. I lied, I have it. On November 1st, 2025, the Franklin Fire Department vacated Fire Station 1 and moved all personnel to either Fire Station 2 or 3 or the Muskego Fire Station located in Test Corners. During planned building renovations, a significant amount of black mold was detected that existed at dangerous levels. This evacuation of Station 1 occurred right in the middle of the domain migration. The unplanned move required transfer of equipment, changes to phone routing, configurations of laptops to use Fortinet VPN for remote access and operation. That was unexpected. Kind of buried us. Director's notes of operations. The Muni domain migration. Starting on Halloween, the largest technology change ever undertaken was successfully implemented within all departments of the city of Franklin. On 10/31, computers were migrated from the old Franklin NT domain and joined the new Muni domain, which is actively being synchronized with Microsoft Azure Active Directory, aka Entra ID. As part of the migration, new vulnerability management agents were installed on every computer and server, and the device was rolled in Intune Enterprise Mobility Management. New DNS, DHCP, and Radius servers were implemented as core infrastructure components. Nathan Lagaki and Ryan Booz issued over 220 YubiKeys for mandatory two-factor authentication prior to the conversion date. All users were required to activate their user account within the Muni domain, set a unique password, and enter an 8-digit corresponding PIN on the YubiKey. On the day of the migration, all users were functional and able to log into the network with their YubiKeys using FIDO2 passwordless authentication. No issues were encountered with the YubiKey authentication or denial of network access. DigiCorp got all YubiKeys to work flawlessly, including the police squad cars. Email was migrated over several days using the BitTitan migration tool. The only problems that were encountered was for users who had mailboxes close to the maximum 50 gigabyte storage limitation. All public folders were converted to shared calendars. The conversion tool worked extremely well for the special conditions where the username and old domain did not meet the naming standards, hence the account was renamed in the new domain. BitTitan was configured to account for these anomalies, and all user accounts in the new domain are configured to an enterprise standard. All application servers were migrated over to the new domain. It's done over time, and the database is placed on a central SQL 2022 server. Following applications are exceptions and are still waiting to be migrated. BSNA, not happy with it. Due to the complexity of moving the databases for each module, the vendor insisted that they be directly involved and this be done via the BSNA implementation team. This was originally scheduled for 12/11 and 12/12. BSNA just announced that they cannot meet this deadline. Additionally, they want to outsource this migration to one of their trusted consulting vendors, VC3, due to resource limitations on their end. This conversion is under discussion with potential rescheduling. VPN. Security hardening of the network originally created authentication issues with the new Radius server. These have believed to have been resolved. Delay of implementation was needed because of recent fire department moves to alternative fire stations as they were heavily accessing the VPN for daily operations. Johnson Controls Remote Access is also holding up the migration at the moment, but it is intended that this be cut over next week without regard to their access. WatchGuard. WatchGuard video surveillance system for squad cars contains around 12 terabytes of data that has to be preserved. Instead of keeping this data on premises, Motorola has begun the process of moving all files with retention holds to their cloud. Once the data has been migrated, this allows both the older WatchGuard and Arbitrator systems to be decommissioned. All squad and body camera footage will be viewed and maintained from the Motorola cloud. It is estimated this will take 5 to 7 days to upload all the data. Currently, they're at about 25% upload. And Johnson Controls, also a friend. Johnson Controls has given formal notification on 11/3 that their existing Secure 9000 security access server does not meet security compliance. The vendor was supposed to port the application to a new Windows 2025 server in the Muni domain and place the database on the centralized SQL server. To date, zero progress has been made on this project due to incompetence of their local technician and severe lack of training on the product that they are fully responsible for supporting. The old server will be kept in operations until 12/13. Afterwards, it will be shut off and forcibly deleted. The vendor will have to perform a full on-site rework to build out the new server that meets security compliance guidelines.
Well, first of all, congratulations
Yes,
on the whole everything.
The
went really
domain
well.
migration,
I mean, that's huge.
and thank you to your team.
You and your team.
Wow.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Fantastic.
And I will say, having gone through the process with YubiKey, it went very smooth. I was very impressed.
Good.
It was literally just a few minutes set up. So.
We've done it enough.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
Huge.
I was prepared to be here for a little bit, and I got back, and my youngest is like, "You just left." I said, "I know."
Well, the IT team definitely saw what I said is one of the most difficult things you can ever do as an IT department is a full domain migration.
Oh, yeah.
You really learn your network and you really learn all your applications because everything has to be authentic.
BSNA.
Fantastic.
And no
BSNA.
data loss.
Are they BSNA owned by private equity now? Did they get bought out?
I do not know. Tell the honest truth. I do know. I'm speaking to their vice president right now of support, Alex Eggleston, on it. They have split their support department basically into two groups. One is the old desktop.net application that we're currently on right now, and that's slowly being drained of personnel. And now everyone's moving over to their web-based, cloud-based product. And I was talking to Danielle. When you want to do this, she does not want to do it in 2026. She would like to do it in 2027. BSNA is really pushing hard to move everyone in onto the new cloud-based system in 2026. I can say with absolute certainty, BSNA used to be absolutely rock solid on their support, and I have seen huge support issues crop up over the last 6 months.
Greenfield had the same thing.
That-
And oh, by the way, it's owned by Serent Capital, a growth-focused private equity firm. In May 2024, you could probably plot the drop-off in everything on May 2020.
So May of 2029 is the exit,
All gonna
the
go
5-year exit.
south.
I would also argue that there's been a lot of firms that have those kind of where they're going to move everybody in a 12-month period. They don't have the bandwidth to move everybody in a 12-month period. Like you can sit there and say that, but like their example of
Exactly.
they need
They need
people
to subcontract.
right, and you got a subcontract, and then you get that spread out too much, and you can't handle what's all going on. And they usually have centralized areas that even have to set up those, we'll call them tenants, or whatever they're going to call them, right? They got to set all those things up. That is not. They come up with these plans, but they're not.
Correct.
And you have
achievable.
your most talented, most senior people that have been on the implementation team for years. They move from the desktop support team now over to the other column, over to the cloud-based support. Now they become untouchable, and now you have a group of rookies turning around and dealing with the .NET support. I started getting into the problem of getting bad information from them. Something very simple of, all right, I need to create an SMTP relay. I need to change the default SMTP relay that you're using to put, when I email something out of, or even a notification, a report, out of BSNA, and I want to email this out. I need to change where my email server, because it's no longer on-prem. It's now up in the cloud. So I have to change the default email. Why is that a 2-week conversation with support waiting for them to call me back?
I'll tell you what, private equity.
Yeah.
I'm
It
telling
shows.
you, it's the death
It
of
really
every
shows.
good product is private equity. Seen it so many times.
Yeah. And this is now, I have a hard stop that we go into the red zone with a change freeze on 12/15. Releases on 1/7. I do this every year because starting 12/15, we're supposed to be putting out a property tax statement, even though BSNA is recorded in LandNav. There's still enough stuff with end of the year budgets, purchase orders, that all has to be done by the end of the year. This is not the time of the year to be playing around with the financial system. This is our high revenue period. It's also our busiest time of year for it. So I told him, you have to get this done by 12/15. Even doing the change on 12/12 is asking for trouble for it. So I was not happy to find out that we can't do this. It's probably going to get pushed into Q1, so I can't decommission my domain, at least into Q1.
Yeah, and it's not going to get better.
No.
You could ask Greenfield.
Vendor fail.
You could ask Greenfield. I think they're on the web version, right? So you could ask them their experience with the web version, the migration with that, right? Because truly, if they've got a web and a desktop, and the desktop's being whatever, we don't want to be on that because, like I said, the support people are going to be the rookies, the new people. They're not where you want to be. So if we're going to stick with BSNA, we probably need to get onto the web product as soon as possible.
Well, there's also an issue where when we onboarded other departments and other modules, for example, the building management module, which is called permitting and land management system using a building inspection on it, they were supposed to put in a workflow on it. And it became very obvious, the departments don't know their own internal processes.
That's right.
They are not documented anywhere. It's oral, it's word of mouth. They sometimes make it up as they go along for it. That if you start asking them to document their internal processes, because if it isn't documented, how are you going to automate it at this point? We've already discussed in the Finance Commission about needing a business analyst to sit down there with each of the business units and start documenting their business processes. So we can actually use the workflow module in BSNA to automate processes that go from department to department. That's where you automate all your stuff is the cross-departmental swim lanes for it. And that's a big problem. That they were also supposed to put up a whole new planning module on it. Set it up as best as they could. That COVID at the middle of that time, because they were doing all stuff remoting. They were also using Agile project management. They built the thing, and the planning department doesn't use it. They don't touch it at all. So we're having an entire module that could be used that isn't being used. So when we go to the cloud, I want to task them with, one, let's fix this problem with the planning module and redo it the way they want it, and retool it so we actually get that part of the planning process. But then we absolutely have to have automation minimally between planning, building inspections, and then also within the building planning, going into engineering, then from engineering over to building inspection. Clear process there with the swim lanes that is very poorly documented, but that would definitely lend itself to the entire approval and would help streamline projects.
But you need
approval of projects.
But to your point, what you said, you need a business analyst to do that because the people in those departments they're not the right hemisphere of the brain, right? They don't think like analysts, right? So they just, this is the way we've always done it. I mean, how many times have you heard that,
with Sandy
right?
Wesolowski trying to get her chart of accounts for her licensing in there and what the licenses were and how the licenses worked, that was pulling teeth. Realized she was in the middle of a very rough presidential election at the time, but with it. She could iterate to me what she knew of the process, but none of it was documented. It was the first time ever that licenses were documented. So I know that problem exists. Onboarding it to the cloud with BSNA, that's going to come right up to the front. That how are you going to put this into the cloud beyond a like-for-like transfer? You're not going to make any improvements. And I think if we go to the cloud, we need to make these improvements.
Well, we need to get on, we either need to look for something to replace BSN. I don't know if there is any, because it's not going to get any better. Or at minimum, we need to at least be working with their more experienced people with their product that they're actually investing money in, because they're investing nothing in their
They're like they told me right now they're doing bug fixes and they're letting the old desktop client die.
The Johnson Controls still dealing with
Yes,
Bungie
that was a very
management?
long conversation last week and last meeting on it, and yeah, there's. I spent today probably close to 4 hours trying to get Bo Labonte, their technician, who I would have fired if I was his manager. Does not know what he at all, and he does not have any of the skills necessary to do the job. No understanding of TCP/IP. I had to troubleshoot his laptop to try to figure out why he couldn't turn around and get connected via VPN over to us. And all he kept on saying, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I realized, yes, we've changed the servers, we changed the networks, we give you new login IDs. Confusing because you're trying to do this in the middle of a domain migration. I got that. I'm sympathetic with that. But after almost 5 days of telling me he can't get the VPN to work, when I log on to his machine to find out that he has Palo Alto VPN from Milwaukee County set to auto start, and he had 2 VPN connections live at the exact same time, and not noticed that he had another VPN live while he's connecting to us, and we overlap on our IP address range. Of course you're going to have connection issues. And just sending me screenshot after screenshot after screenshot. We also stopped. He was on site. We were going to do the installation. We got to the point of where you're going to put your databases and what you're going to, and he had to stop because he didn't know. Because he had to not build new databases on the SQL server. He basically needed to take the installation and attach to existing databases from the old installation. Either we create new ones and then import certain tables into it, or you somehow get the application, turn around and say, I'm doing a reinstall, not a fresh install. The databases are already on the server. Connect to these particular databases. He didn't know how to do it. Didn't know how to do it. Has to contact his manager, Ron, who was on a medical leave, excuse. So he had to get the great, glorious Ron involved with this to turn around and figure out how to attach these databases to a new installation.
So what can be done?
Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Away.
Well, my choice is either I struggle through it, working with him and finally getting Johnson Controls to do this and do it as it's done, or I do like I say, I shut it down entirely, have them come on site and do a complete refresh, and then re-enter all the data, like all of the badge control, 41 badge control readers that they have in the building, and re-enter all that in manually. It'll be a long time, but they can then turn around and do it. They won't be happy with it at all because now they say, you had this working and you destroyed it. So there will be a major point of contention with that. Or I do the installation myself, the manuals, figure it out, and just turn around and get it working myself. The best option is to turn around and work through with them because they're going to have to support this and turning around and getting this up and running. Even though I can't even get a guy to figure out how to connect his laptop to the VPN, and that's taken over 2.5 weeks.
Well, I don't know if I would have had the patience you did, but
Oh, believe me, you've got more than an ear.
getting Ron and the guy just come out here and say, all right, you're just going to sit here. I would have done that after a day or two's worth of effort. Come out here, I'm sick of playing phone tag and trying to guess what's on your screen or looking at each other's screens.
I even wanted them to, we scheduled a date to actually do the installation, have him out here, and I had it all set. It's like no one shows up, no one sends me a meeting. He was supposed to be here on site, get with their level 2 support, which probably outsourced to a vendor, to turn around and help him do this installation. And Johnson Controls denied getting level 2 support engaged in this. Don't know the reason why, but nope, we're not engaging them.
Does the contract have any performance?
I don't have the contract.
All paid though.
Kelly has it, and they mushed all of this together in one contract.
Yes.
When's the next maintenance payment? Or payment?
This is supposed to be mostly on a grant. Again, I'm getting tied into this peripherally. I'm not even supposed to be in charge of the door access control, but yet Kelly isn't here, so I'm moving it forward because I need to get the server off the old domain and into the new domain, and hence that's how I became interested in it. I need to get this damn thing ported and moved. So yes, it's a mess, but we will get through it. We've tackled more complex things.
Any other discussion on those items? Otherwise, we have our future agenda items. Security project, failure avoidance and mitigation,
And we will.
and we'll probably get the
My
results of this.
next meeting, I would like to turn around
ADA?
and hopefully we'll be done with the penetration test, and like to turn around and look at the risk watch matrix. We haven't looked at that in a year. Even if we have to just look at the risk watch matrix again, even without the penetration test.
The pen test was pre-domain or post domain?
It's going to be post domain. I didn't want to do it pre.
Right.
The old domain going away.
Well,
That's
that
the
makes
point.
sense. Okay. Next meeting date is the end of January as usual, 6 p.m. on the last Wednesday. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Night.
Thank you.